How's it, everybody? We are the Joystick Show. Just so you know, we're back. Your three favorite friends from Hawaii are coming together, like the Ohana we are, to talk about some things we've watched, read, or played. And we're going to stick it to you so hard. So mahalo for sticking with us. Remember, please like, subscribe, and share the big LSS. And if you fancy what you hear, then do the thing we just talked about, because duh. I'm your co-host, Drake. That's a Thomas.
What's going on, everybody?
And that's a Scott.
How's it?
And today is episode 118, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Sick.
Nice.
So we are doing pretty well. We've already got a hundo down. We're about to hit a 2-0 pretty soon. And our topics that we're going to cover today, a lot of trailers. Some cool stuff came out over the course of the days that we weren't here. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Godzilla -1 or -1 or -1, however you like to say that. Echo, the Marvel series coming out pretty soon, and a Shogun on Netflix. Sichimabad that's going to be coming in 2024. We'll also be reviewing some awesome things that we've been reviewing, obviously Gen V and a Loki, and a little bit of Quiz Lady and a Haunting in Venice.
And
Invincible
Season 2 premiere.
And Invincible
sprinkle
Season 2
that
premiere.
in.
Yeah, just a dash.
Just a dash, or a minus, or a negative, depending on how you say it.
Yeah, depending on how you want to go, up to you. But why don't we kick it off with the trailers, just because they're short and sweet, and we can ram it in our viewers or listeners' ear holes.
Real quick. Got to go to BlizzCon. I thought that was cool.
Oh yeah.
You guys, what's your familiarity with Blizzard games?
StarCraft.
Okay. Yep.
That's
StarCraft.
Diablo.
Diablo. Yep.
Was it Foul? What's that first-person shooter? Super not familiar. I guess.
So you don't know any of them? No, Overwatch.
Valorant.
Valorant
Overwatch
is like, I guess, the competitor to that, but yeah, Overwatch was there.
Blizzard is
okay.
Overwatch.
But man, it was cool. Like, if you are interested in any of those games, you definitely should go to that event. It is pretty badass. They go so big. So they had a full, like, it was the Anaheim Convention Center, and then in every major room, there was a different game. So like in one room, it was Diablo 4. In another room, in actually two rooms, it was Overwatch. And then in the last room was all like Warcraft stuff. So it was like World of Warcraft things. There was like Hearthstone or Hearthstone, which is their mobile card game. And then they have Warcraft Rumble. I don't really know what that is, but it was cool. So each big gigantic conference room-esque place was like devoted to one game. So all that was really cool. Met a lot of fun people. Got to hang out with Frank and the rest of the Geek Freaks guys, which was super cool.
Nice.
Yeah, everybody was like so stoked, and they were kind of filling me in, like not knowing anything about any of the Blizzard games except for Diablo, which this made me want to go home and play Diablo right away with all the stuff they're launching for 2024. But people who've been playing World of Warcraft, and I think Frank said he's been playing it for about 15 years, they were fired up. They were like, this is some amazing stuff. So if you like any of those games, definitely go check it out. It's really cool. You can check it out on our social media, the Joystick Show, anywhere on like TikTok or Instagram or Threads or any of that kind of stuff.
Nice. How's the esports?
Dude, the esports. Okay, so I didn't even know what Overwatch was going into this weekend. I mean, I knew it was like a shooter, but I didn't know a lot about it. The competition was fucking incredible. It really was like one of the coolest things. Like, even counting in some Super Bowls, World Series, NBA Finals, like the final for this competition was one of the most exciting finals I think I've seen in like all of sports. Because an underdog got in, which was like Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They were not projected to be anywhere near the top. China was like the dominant. South Korea was dominant. South Korea got taken out, but China made it through. So it was like literally David versus Goliath. And in the beginning of the match, so it's like 5 different games, China just wiped the floor with Saudi Arabia, and people were like, "Yep, that's how I thought it was going to go." And then every round, it started to shift. So the next round, like China barely won. Then the round after that, like Saudi Arabia barely beat China. Then they started to look even better. Then the end, like to put it in sports terms, it was like if the last game of the finals went out in shootouts, and then the last kick of the shootouts, the team needed to score to win. That's how they pretty much won for the 500,000. People were like clapping, cheering. The whole stadium was chanting, cheering for China. Like there was a bunch of people who were probably from China there to support this team. And it like went dead silent. And then all these people I was just kind of rooting for the underdog after a while, because these kids seemed like they didn't even expect to be in the finals, and then they won. And it was exciting, man. So if you can familiarize yourself with the game.
Probably on YouTube, yeah. So
it was streaming straight to Twitch, so you could watch it in Twitch as it was happening. Okay. But yeah, dude, it was super exciting, and I learned a shit ton about the game by sitting next to Frank and Squeaks and the rest of the guys, and they're like, "Okay, this is what happened," or "This is what this." And since I didn't know, if something happened that they didn't know about, I would just ask people. I'm like, "Wait, why is everybody cheering?" And then some guy would explain it to me. He was like, "Oh, this is like them just putting down their controller and walking away because they already knew they won the round." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So it was exciting. Yeah, a massive trophy, people watching from all around the world. It was, and then this like K-pop band, La Seraphim, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, they performed. They do a song on Overwatch 2. You can get their exclusive skins in the game and everything. So it was like this cool kind of just every part of the world was like perfectly aligning with this game and everything. And I went home, I downloaded it, I played it all last night. I'm not gonna even lie, it's sick. Nice. It just reminds me of like the times when I loved Halo, except for each character has their own gun ability. The buttons are different, like that Mobile Suit Gundam game we were playing. All the buttons were different and each character did different things, but like that, but a shooter. And then like there's three categories. There's like a tank, an offensive person, and a support character. And so like you need to make the best team, like you need like a little bit of each kind of. And yeah, it's fun, man. So that's a game I think we should play in the future for sure.
Sick.
Hell yeah.
Was the stadium environment like any sort of other stadium environment where it comes to sports, where there's like snacks and swag and beverages and things of the like?
Oh yeah, definitely. There was no drinks, like there was no alcohol inside the event, which was for me a pretty big letdown, but there was all this other stuff going on. So if you didn't want to watch some of the competitions or some of the teams play, like you had Diablo World to go explore, or World of Warcraft World, or so like that was cool. The other side to it too, is like you get this really badass esports competition, but at the same time, like if you're not into watching a certain team play, you have all these other things you could do. And then people were going ape shit over all the things you could buy, and there was exclusive stuff for each game, and there was things you could win that were like posters or like downloadable content for games and stuff. It was cool. I was wondering if any other video game company does something this big, and they said not really. I guess there's like one other company that does it, but I wasn't familiar with any of the games. But I will say this about the fans who are Blizzard fans. They are like the most diehard, dedicated super fans ever. Like more than some sports teams I know. It's just wild. Like people were wearing some of the cosplay, and I was doing my thing, taking pictures, and I was like, hey, do you have an Instagram so I could tag you, all that stuff, or social media? They're like, no, that's fine. You don't have to. Like they just literally wanted to dress up like the characters. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So that side of it was really, really fun. And then hanging out with all those guys in person that I podcasted with for a bunch. Me and Frank have been doing Challenge Accepted for almost a year. And so just like hanging out with him in person and all that was really, really cool. So yeah, I recommend it if you're into any of those games.
Nice.
Glamour.
All right, let's get into trailers. So Shogun, what did we think about Shogun?
First things first, we're all Japanese here, so if I'd be lying if I said I didn't have an erection watching it the whole time, just because obviously the feudal era of Japan is kind of like the creme de la creme of what everybody thinks about, the prime of Japan and its warriors and the daimyo and the samurai and the ninjas and all those other things. Like everything that we've seen about Japan is kind of surfaces from that era. And I think aside from the Last Samurai with kind of similar characters, Hiroyuki Sanada's in that.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise plays the white guy.
Yeah, it also looks like there's like a white guy prisoner person in it too. I mean, it's fine. I guess you gotta have like some white dude in it to make it, I don't know, acceptable or something, maybe relatable to the middle of America. I don't know, but I was just like, oh boy, here we go again.
Yeah, primarily the majority of the cast is Japanese, not necessarily Asian casted. I know a lot of times, just because it's an Asian movie, they'll be like, let's throw a Korean or a Chinese person in there just because they look Japanese.
Like let's hear fam.
It's most
They're like a K-pop band, but like one girl spoke Japanese, one I think spoke Chinese, one was definitely Korean, and one had like better English than me. So I was like, what's going on here with this?
More like A-pop.
Yeah, they had a French ass name, so I'm like, what is going on?
I know, yeah, that's a little bit too much. It's going to be coming out in February 2024, and the general like synopsis is that it's a collision of the two ambitious men from different worlds and a mysterious female samurai that kind of come together, and the person from the English sailor Jack or John Blackthorne is seeing this world for the first time, and it's a clash of cultures, et cetera, et cetera. So it should be good in terms of it's a series. We know how we care about series on this show.
I know how you care about series.
Yeah, duh. And the production value is super high. So
it does.
I think it's a must watch. Do you both disagree or totally agree?
I agree. FX has been pumping out a lot of good shows, so I am super aboard. I saw the trailer. It looks awesome. Definitely gonna check it out.
100% agree too. It looks incredible, really shot, super nice, and I would even say at this point in time it might even be better shot than The Last Samurai. So I think it's, I think we're gonna get even more of a traditional take on Japanese culture around this time, shot better probably, and probably with like a better acted maybe, or more of a Japanese cast. I don't know if better acted is the right word, but I think it looks incredible from what we see from the trailer. Yeah, man. Whew, it looked good. All right, moving on to the next one. We had what is it? Planet of the Apes.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. What do you guys think about this one?
Is it an extension? So there was a Planet of the Apes, and they were Return to the Planet of the Apes, and then there was another Planet of the Apes, War of the Planet of the Apes. So this is like, those were the original three, right? So this is like a fourth one. This is an extension. This is the Star Wars Episode 1 situation, or well, I guess it's
probably just Episode 4
sequel. Episode 4, yeah.
I think it's just continuing.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Like, let's just count.
The apes smarter.
I don't know how to count good, dude. What do you want?
After 3, you jump to the back of the line, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so judging by how you're talking about like Last Samurai versus this show, and like how it's shot better and everything, like I think it's the same thing. This fourth movie like looks crazy good based on CG and the way it's shot, and like the amount of things we're able to do now with CG is crazy. On that alone, I checked the movie out. Like it looks really cool. I'm trying to remember if I saw the third film. I don't remember if I did, but watching the trailer makes you want to go back and watch these movies because it kind of got me hyped for this movie.
The last one was good. It was super sad. It's like one of those movies, where people were like, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, so good. Would you rewatch it? Oh, hell no, it's too sad. It's like, it's kind of like that for me, where it was so good when I watched it, but I'm like, it's kind of tough to watch at some parts because you feel so bad for some of the apes when they're captured and everything and what happens to them. So I don't know if it's like the thing I'll go back to, but this looks really damn good. I've liked all of them, and I think for the first couple movies it was Andy Serkis who played Caesar. So man, if he's a part of this, I mean, the best mocap actor of all time, I'm on board with it. But it just looks incredible from what we see. I'm sure. I think it's probably following his son. Caesar's son. I don't know.
Caesar salad.
Yes,
Yeah.
the Caesar mini salad.
Salad the Apes.
Caesar salad of the apes. Oh, that's
Yeah.
hilarious.
hmm
The cast is pretty decent as well.
Who's in it?
Freya Allen is playing May. Kevin Durand is playing Proximus
Durant?
Caesar. Yeah.
Sick.
Shaquille O'Neal's in this, no, he's not. But
That's Peter McComb.
William H. Macy's in this, so that's pretty sick. Peter Durand is what was he on? He was on a lot of different movies. I don't know the thing that you would have noticed him on the most.
Any titles stick out to you?
X-Men Origins, Wolverine, Robin Hood, I Am Number 4, and Wild Hogs are the top 4 on his IMDb's.
It's so funny, like those are all popular titles,
Like Kevin
and
Durant.
they all suck.
Yeah.
Like they were all. Those are big names, and those movies are all
brutal.
terrible.
He was in was he in Smoking Aces?
Ooh, Smoking Aces is a good one. I like that movie a lot.
Potentially, he was in Lock and Key.
He's that super giant buff dude.
Got it.
I don't know if he's.
Yeah, he's in Smoking Aces.
Okay.
He used to be jacked. I don't know how jacked he's now, but he's like a tall, jacked type of man. You'll know.
Can you guys pull anything from the story from the trailer?
Tall, jacked man. That's a great question. I kind of saw more of the action. I think the last we saw, Caesar, where the two factions kind of split themselves, and the Caesar kind of wanted the human being situation to kind of be separated necessarily. But this seems like it's way more in the future, where it's primarily the apes have kind of taken over mostly a lot of the background, and the environment is looks like a solar punk, where everything's kind of been retaken by the mother nature. So to answer your question, no, not really for me.
No, you broke it down better than I could. It looks badass. That's all I could tell from it. The CGI looks great, and I know I watched the first 3, so I'm definitely in for this one. I just don't know what the story is gonna be from what I saw. Looks good.
Further apocalyptic ape takeover,
right.
I assume.
That's funny. The next movie we're talking about, also Godzilla -1, it is kind of the same too. I don't know what the story is, but at the same time, it's just Godzilla destroying Japan, and it seems like it's going back to its roots. And I don't know if I need more than a story, or more of a story than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he does it the best.
You just need Godzilla and scared Japanese people running away from him. That's all you really need.
Well, this has it in droves. It looks like they got that all day. So I'm really stoked about it. I think it comes out this December 1st. It's not an American movie, so people are going to be able to talk about it and review it as it comes out. So I think that side of it is exciting as well. And the special effects look pretty damn good. Like it.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a Hollywood movie, and yet the special effects still look really good, if that makes sense.
Special effects are so good nowadays. It's like Scott said, it's crazy. It's like hard.
Yeah. I also feel like this is maybe like a point of pride for Japan and like the Japanese film industry, because like Godzilla is like a Japanese first property. So I feel like they don't want to let this down, or like it looks like it's really well acted. It looks like the plot, you really believe it's apocalyptic,
It's like an A24 film.
Yeah,
kind of like parts of it. I see what you're saying.
Parts of it maybe.
There's parts of it that look like it could be a smaller film, and then you see the big shots of Godzilla,
right?
You're like, oh,
and they look sick. So it's like a cool merging.
Right.
Gogeta.
I'm just curious how. Yeah, again, don't know the story, but I'm curious how this is gonna be handled, and will also feel different than the Monarch series that comes out on Apple TV that has Kurt Russell in it. And that's also a Godzilla show. So, they're doing the Godzilla show, and then they have this movie. Like, I don't know if they're going to feel the same or different, or, if this comes out and this does super well, does that then hurt the Apple TV show? I don't know. I guess that's like the thing that comes up with me on this trailer, but
maybe not though. I mean, growing up, it seems like Godzilla kind of falls into that franchise, like in a way, like kids like giant dinosaurs, superheroes, all that kind of stuff. So like if you're a kid like Godzilla, you'll take any form of it. So if you just see another movie that looks cool, then you hear a show's coming on Apple, you're gonna be begging your mom like, "Can I get it?" You know. So kids for sure will be driving it.
Gogeta.
But this Godzilla looks like he moves quicker than the Godzilla and the Monarch series.
Yeah, that's a good point. He definitely looks like one of the faster Godzillas we've seen, because when he goes from the water to land, it's like bam, he's there, and buildings are getting destroyed. So I'm excited about it. I think I'm gonna be seeing this one in theaters for sure. Something that was supposed to come out this year, but now is pushed back to January, I think, for next year. And I was a little skeptical. Everybody was already dogging on it because, Marvel came out and said, we're going to release all the episodes at one time. It is a show that is a spinoff of Hawkeye, a character that's kind of a spinoff of Daredevil, and it is Echo. We saw Echo last in the Hawkeye series, and she was a really good adversary for Hawkeye. She's getting her own show. But for me, what makes this trailer so great is it looks like it's a Kingpin / Vincent D'Onofrio trailer first. Like, we get a little bit of her backstory in it, and they do a really cool thing. Like, this to me feels like A24 / Scorsese Killers of the Flower Moon-esque, where you're getting modern day trauma that's getting flashback to her origin story. And yet we also see the boss, seriously, this trailer, and maybe this is racist now because they both have to deal with Native Americans, but at the same time, we got Kingpin, and I also feel like he's kind of the Robert De Niro in this trailer. Like, he's a badass Don boss. So I don't know, but it looked way better than I thought it was going to be. I don't know. What did you guys think about this trailer?
Yeah, I agree with that. The way it's shot, I know you mentioned earlier off camera that him narrating it, D'Onofrio just has a really specific way about him. Like, he can be he's almost like the way Bane was in the last Batman movie.
Why don't you just try to
he doesn't need to say much.
Like D'Onofrio, go for it.
D'Onofrio, he's like this guy who likes sugar and water.
You're gonna just do the voice.
Sugar.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Drake. Thank you.
Sugar. Water. Yeah.
I think you also said
D'Onofrio.
I'm not gonna give you hot dogs. No,
he said, why?
Or something like that.
Oh, wait, what did I say? He said, you deaf girls can't have hot dogs or something. I forget what it is. In the trailer, in the trailer, he beats the shit out of a hot dog vendor for blowing off Echo.
For mocking her and all that.
Maybe kills him.
That dude is straight up dead. He got hooked against the wall.
For sure, multiple times. But yeah, he has just this calm way of speaking and this super intimidating demeanor, and
menacing.
It's intimidating. Yeah. He does a really good job with it.
Yeah, it's Law and Order. Yes, criminal investigative.
That's good too. Check that out. Criminal Intent.
Oh yeah, Criminal Intent.
Right. I like it. He just looks so massive in this too. But there is also a little cool tidbit. There's a blink and you miss it moment of Daredevil in the red suit, kind of jumping through this. I don't know what you call them. What do you call those? Shelving, but industrial shelving, like you might see in a kitchen on a rolling.
Like a Costco?
Yeah, like a rolling rack kind of shelving. That's all stainless steel. Yeah. And seriously, if you look at it again, there's a blink and you miss a moment, and it's literally Daredevil jumping, and he spins, so his head's looking up in the sky, but he's jumping between the two shelves, and then that's the only trailer, and then it cuts to Echo herself jumping off of a big rig at somebody. Kind of like she looks like the chick from The Matrix, Trinity. You know when Trinity jumps and she, and her legs are in the air and her arms are in there, yeah. But there's an Echo moment like that too. So they do a really good job of keeping up the hype. The music is intense. It looks, I don't know, looks grittier. It's the first MCU show that's getting a TVMA rating. So it's not. This isn't for your kids.
Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
This is following along.
I didn't realize that.
So this is following along the lines of what we got from Daredevil and The Punisher and Luke Cage, this, or Jessica Jones. This is definitely more of a gritty show, and I feel like I get that from this trailer. And I think I said this offline. I don't know if I said this yet, but to me, this looks better definitely than Secret Invasion. It looks better than even Loki season 2 for me. This looked better than maybe not Moon Knight, but other shows that we've gotten so far, this looks like a lot better than that. And some of those shows I didn't hate.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it looks like a fun action show that's gonna have some like heart to it.
Yeah.
Heart.
The other report about it too.
Heart sugar. Diabetes.
Yeah, that's where my mind went. Heart plus sugar equals diabetes. Why do we always bring up diabetes? That was last week's episode too.
Disease, okay? It's an epidemic.
It is an epidemic.
Yeah, it affects everyone everywhere.
If you got it, we do feel bad for you. I'm sorry. But shit, now I lost track of what I was gonna say on that. What was it about?
Sorry.
That's good. I don't know. Anyways, it looks incredible. Oh, this is it. This is the other thing they said. The producers also said that Echo is not a hero in this. She's a villain. So I really like that they're not going to try to like make her a good guy all of a sudden from Hawkeye. That she's going to continue on and be a villain. So I dig that. All right. So let's get into reviews, guys. And let's start off with Drake. You watched a couple things.
Two things.
This looked really funny, but I didn't even know that it was coming out, first of all. And I don't even know where to watch it. But it's called The Quiz Lady.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
This is a segment called Drake Tells You Why You Should Watch This Movie.
I like it.
I can't wait.
Here we go. So Quiz Lady, it is on Hulu. It came out November 3rd. It focuses around two people that we know by heart, Awkwafina and Sandra Oh, who play sisters Anne and Jenny Yum, Y-U-M. This also was created, or produced, I should say, by Will Ferrell's company. And Will Ferrell is in it. And so essentially it follows these two sisters. When they were young, their parents were having issues, and so they essentially had to take care of each other, primarily the older sister, Sandra Oh, to Awkwafina, the younger sister. As they grow up, we see that Awkwafina is kind of in a job, and Sandra Oh is kind of the more wild one, which you don't necessarily see her character in that way. On the backdrop, we also have a lot of Asian culture that we don't necessarily get to see, especially in what happens when a divorce happens within an Asian culture environment. And essentially, the only thing that kept Awkwafina sane is watching this same show every single day, which is the game show that she's loved. All of a sudden, her sister took a video of her kind of running through the answers very quickly, and it went viral. And that's how we get the name of the movie, Quiz Lady. And so they run into an issue where a character named Dumbfounded in real life, he's actually, he was an underground rapper for a long time. Oh, that's cool. And he took Awkwafina's dog as ransom because the mom originally owed a bunch of money. And so Sandra Oh is trying to get Awkwafina onto this game show to be able to win that money back and get her dog back. And so all of these shenanigans kind of occur. You see this interesting growth of both Awkwafina and Sandra Oh, and you also get to see them in roles that they don't usually play. Awkwafina usually plays that like funny, awkward, kind of forward-facing individual. She's more of a slumpy, frumpy, like Asian-esque character. And Sandra Oh is more of that like, serious character. She usually plays serious characters, but in this role, she's completely different. I've also heard in the backdrop, behind the scenes, that Sandra Oh did a lot of improvisation, and Awkwafina kind of had to roll with it. Ooh. And so you get to see some really crazy things happen. One thing that I think will help salivate your juices is that Will Ferrell plays kind of a lot more of a straight man in this one, kind of more of like an Alex Trebek, and there's a moment in time where it gets a little bit more emotional. To me, this was a very like soft, loving, beautiful story of like sisterhood. But the moment in talking about is they have to do charades at one point in time. And the person that they're up against, who happens to be Jason Schwartzman.
Oh, wow.
Is him and his partner are a pro at doing this charades game. And Awkwafina is completely scared of having to do charades because she's not a outgoing person. But the way that her and Sandra Oh are able to play this charades game is in a way that only two sisters would know. and it's completely amazing. So
Nice.
if you have some time, watch Quiz Lady. It's a beautiful movie. It left me uplifted. It was short and sweet. It was funny at certain points in time. It was serious at certain points in time. Yeah, that's all I can say about that.
It's pretty good. Pretty interesting. All right.
Sounds good.
Now, Quiz Lady. Okay, I'm gonna check it out. I've seen some things going around online about it. It looked kind of good, so I'm in.
Watch it with your spouse, and I guarantee you, it will not disappoint.
Right on.
And it's on Hulu.
It's on a Hulu. Hulu's doing some really great stuff right now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Is Hulu doing A Haunting in Venice?
Hulu isn't doing A Haunting in Venice. I believe that is a separate 20th Century Studios situation.
Okay.
This is the what are those things called?
Movies?
What are those things?
Movie.
No, but where the characters are the same, but it's a different Bob.
Cinema?
Oh, I forget what it's called. I just know the shows that do it.
Yeah.
TV shows?
What the fuck are those things called, dude?
I know what you're
No, it's
talking
like
about.
It's like American Horror
Yeah, it's
Story.
like, I want to say it's
all
an
that.
annexation, but it's not an annexation.
Puerto Rico?
Um,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
It is what it
football
is.
play.
Yeah.
It's an anthology.
Little
is what we're
Giants
talking
all the
about.
way.
Anthology.
Bangos. We know
Anthology.
words
Hey.
that mean
Okay,
things.
so first and foremost, Haunting in Venice. Not what you expected from this series, like The Glass Onion. There is a lot of detectiving, but it's way more thought provoking in that sense, and it's a lot more scary. It was more scary than I thought it would be because there's these moments of realism in what's being portrayed literally in the film, and then the kind of the connotations behind it. So essentially, it's focusing on our main character, Mr. Poirot, Hercule Poirot, and he's essentially being forced out of retirement by Tina Fey.
Okay,
And
who's
they're-
it played by? Who's Mr. Moreau?
Hercule Poirot is played by. Please hold. Oh wow, he's actually an older individual. Kyle Allen, I believe. Right?
Okay.
No?
Don't know.
The same guy who's been playing him the last many times. Nope, it's not Kyle Allen. Poirot, where is he? He's not even on the thingamabob.
Yeah, I typed in Kyle Allen and a quarterback came up.
Oh, it's Kenneth Branagh.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah. I got you.
And then also in here is the very, 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 very good actress that Kelly Riley, who's also been in Yellowstone and in what is that called? Sherlock Holmes, the one with
It's kind of like the redhead.
Iron Man. Yeah.
Yeah. She's awesome.
Michelle Yeoh is in this.
That's the only person I remember that was in this movie.
Yeah. Michelle Yeoh
And Tina Fey, right?
And Tina Fey. So the big thing is that Tina Fey is trying to drag Hercule out of retirement or in this place of like lackadaisicalness, and takes him to this house where there's like an idea that the house is haunted from these kids who at one point in time were left in there because it was an orphanage during the Black Plague.
Damn. Okay.
So the Rowena Drake, who's played by Kelly Riley, her daughter had gotten killed by these individuals or the ghosts. And so Hercule's like, this is dumb. It's probably not real. And the reason why he thinks that is because Kelly brought in Michelle Yeoh, who's supposed to be a medium. And Michelle Yeoh brings in two other characters who are kind of, Hercule finds out that they're kind of helping her out to kind of make it the thing, but all of Michelle Yeoh dies.
Damn. Early on in the
another
movie?
person dies. Early on in the movie.
Whoa. Way to...
Yeah, was this supposed to be
It's not really a spoiler
sequel?
alert because you know people go and die. And so it's just because somebody dies doesn't mean you know how it unfolds.
You know what? I'm glad you told me she died early because if people were trying to go watch this movie for this person, like I did for Godzilla with Bryan Cranston,
Oh yeah.
they will be disappointed
Yeah.
because that motherfucker died
so
real
that's-
quick.
And
that's
Bryan
wh-
Cranston's dead.
The reason why I remember Michelle Yeoh and I heard something about this is because she just came off of Everything Everywhere at Once. She just won an Oscar.
Yep.
And I think people did go see this because they're like, oh, it's more of this lady that I just saw in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like, I want to see more of her. And then people went and they were like, what? She's dead? Right off the bat. I think that screwed up a lot of people's take on this movie.
Yeah,
I guess I would agree if you're going singularly for that, but in her role, in her, the amount of time that she had screen time, I still think she was convincing, because when she goes right, it still leads you to believe, well, was there a part of it that was real, or was it not? Because it leads you down this way of what is actually really superstitious, or what is actually real, like haunting. And that gets blended here and there, even after the conclusion, where Hercule brings everything together, and you're like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, I saw that here, this and that. And you can kind of draw your conclusions from what you've seen in the movie. If you're doing a little bit of deduction, it still leads you to believe that maybe there's more. And the way where this is placed inside of, well, it's definitely an anthology, so it's a different story, but the way Hercule Poirot is in this, it's definitely back in the day. There's no I don't think there's any cars, and I don't think there's any cell phones. So considering he's also been in The Glass Onion, I would assume this is previous, even though it's a different story and it could be a different time. It just doesn't make sense to have the same character in a different time frame. If it's not,
because you're saying Hercule Poirot, but like, are you talking about like Daniel Craig's character?
Yeah.
Huh? Because like that's supposed to be more modern day.
Yeah.
So it can't be him.
They're the same guy though.
I want to say they're the same. Aren't they the same? In anthologies, isn't it the same guy or the same?
So in Glass Onion and Knives Out, he's literally the same guy. It's not like the same actor playing a different guy. It's like the same guy.
Oh, interesting.
So
I think I'm thinking about a different thing.
Yeah, I think these ones are connected to like the Death on the Nile.
Yes, Death on the Nile.
And all that stuff.
Okay.
Similar though. I mean, it is like a murder.
It got me all messed up.
But at the same time, it could be like how Batman or Sherlock is done. Like, it's a character that could exist at any time. Another person could be that.
The writer
I believe
can
that
put
too.
this character in any time frame depending on the story they want to tell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
I mean, if you like that murder mystery type situation, I think regardless of whether or not it's like a Glass Onion style or it's this style, like on the Nile situation, I liked it. I digged it. I dig this one more than Death on the Nile.
Nobody like that.
Just because of the scary factor, the shots in Venice, the aerial shots are beautiful. Tina Fey's character in this is spectacular. I think she brings a different dynamic and a different dimension to this whole thing. Her banter with Hercule is hilarious.
Right on.
And I would watch it just for that.
Hell yeah.
It's pretty short too. It's only 103 minutes. It did well. It was budgeted for 60 million. It already made 119.3 million. So according to this Wikipedia article, which is always legit. So
never wrong. You can write your reports off those kids.
Yep.
Great facts.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Always use it.
Perfect. Well, I think you definitely got me interested in it, and I'll consider. I started watching The Burial after your review on it, Drake, and it is so far I haven't finished it. I've been like watching it in chunks. It has not disappointed me yet. It is pretty good. So definitely considering this one as well.
That was good.
All right, let's move on to Loki episode 5.
Oh wait. Let's squeeze in Invincible real quick.
I was thinking Invincible into the finale of Gen V since they're both on Amazon Prime, no?
Scratch Thomas and me out real quick. I'm going with what you did.
Jesus.
We're keeping that in. All right, so Loki episode 5 was a big one. This is not the finale, but this was the penultimate episode. And man, I think this was one of the most impactful episodes of any show, of any Disney Plus Marvel thing that we've gotten ever, other than Loki season 1 episode 6, the finale of that season. So this had so many layers to it, and I think that what it did and how it was able to pick right back up after episode 4 and how episode 4 was this amazing cliffhanger. And I just did not know how they were going to be able to move on from that. I'm like, fuck, dude, where do they go from here? You know, like they got hit by the blast of the temporal loom radiation and everybody seems to be gone. Like, how did they pick this back up? But surprisingly, it works amazingly well. And we find out that Loki is just there in the TVA by himself. And then from there, he starts to try to reconnect with all of his TVA friends. And that's kind of it. But along the way, we discover about everybody's backstory. And it's done super, super well. Yeah, do you want to take it away from here, Scott? While you cough and mute yourself?
Thanks, yeah. Jumping off what you said with jumping into the backstories, I like that. I like seeing everyone's backstory and like kind of answering questions. So definitely answering questions about what we thought these people were like outside of TVA. And like confirming maybe what we assumed. Especially like Mobius. His like thing with jet skis, and like everyone assumed
let's just take
he was
a moment.
selling jet skis, and he sure was.
Let's just take a moment and appreciate that Loki finally was able to get on a Sea-Doo, because wow. Yeah, it was so great because the way they did it too, with it zooming in on his face and like the wind is blowing through his hair and it's just blue skies behind him and he's just got the biggest smile, was just awesome because you're like, that really was this guy's happy place, you know, being on a Sea-Doo ripping around. Really. And then you also find out like that's not the whole story to this guy. You know, he had a wife. He doesn't have one anymore for whatever reason. Maybe she was blipped. Maybe she left him. Maybe she died. It doesn't really say. He just knows she's way gone now. But there's a really nice moment in the middle where Loki is getting to reconnect with him, and they're going through all these things. And the way Loki convinces him to join the team is because he has two sons who, let's be honest, one of them is probably a sociopath. His melting shit part, or in the front yard and like all this stuff.
So
but like,
hilarious, that interaction.
Where'd you get matches?
Is this burnt?
Yeah. Little wins.
Don't run.
Yeah, you know, it's great. I really dug it. I really liked how also in the beginning when Loki first time slipping, because that's the other part to this too. He starts time slipping again and he's like, no, damn it. You know, like come on. Like nobody can scream and be like frustrated and do the hair flip as well as Tom Hiddleston. Well, it's just like one of his many abilities in his
classically trained.
It is acting repertoire, and like he does it to perfection. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But he starts time slipping, and then at first he goes to see Casey, and I think it's in like 1962 Alcatraz. So that was cool because we're like, oh, I was not expecting Casey to be a prisoner on Alcatraz, but I like how they're taking real life history facts, and he ends up being this Frank guy who was like one of the three guys who actually did escape from Alcatraz. Whatever, they don't know if they ever made it to shore or if they ever got away, or if they got like if they sank or drowned or eaten or whatever. But I like how they kind of take some of this fiction and add it to some historical events, and we get that here, and then just that. Hey, Casey, what do you know? Like, we gotta go in the boat, and they're like, "Hey, are you the boat guy?" He's like, "Casey, I don't know about the boat." And it's like, "Why do they keep calling you? Why does he keep calling you Casey, Frank?" He's like, "I don't know this guy. Like, I don't know why he's calling me Casey." Like, all of that was kind of funny to start, and then you know, showing that he doesn't remember him anymore, which is also an awesome callback to episode 1 when he didn't remember him. And then from there, then I think he jumps over to Hunter B-15 or to Obi or Mobius, one of the two. But anyways, like he
I want to say the Hunter B-15 was like the third one or something.
Yeah, you might be right on that. I think so. But anyways, so then we go back to Mobius. We see him at his jet ski Sea-Doo dealership, follow him home, and you know, Loki's trying to convince him that they're friends. From there, we jump into B-15, or Hunter B-15. We see that she's a doctor and that she's really caring. She's helping this girl with her cast. You know, she's kind of teaching her life lessons. And there's even a weird tidbit here of like, pain is a good reminder and a good teacher of like future things from happening. And someone else take it away right now. I need some water.
I knew
I was
exactly
about to
what you
joke
meant.
there for a second.
She wrote like, "I will not climb up trees" on her cast, and then you gather that that's how she got her cast. A little girl, she fell out of a
Right.
tree, and she said, "It ain't gonna work, is it?" She's like, "Nope."
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought that was a little cute moment, but it shows like she has, as tough as she is in the TVA, she has like this very kind, helping
Yeah.
demeanor to her. That's like, I guess you kind of see in the TVA when she's with like Loki them, but otherwise she's like this real tough, like military-esque kind of
Yeah.
lady. You'd assume like that's what she was
So
outside.
true.
Mm.
It was
Yeah,
cool. And she was a doctor, so like she's not using any of her knowledge, I feel like, in the TV. I don't know. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
exactly.
I mean,
Like-
like Mobius is that jet ski and all around, you know. Well, I guess his sales comes into play a lot more.
Yeah. But you think you'd use some sort of like your like knowledge on medicine and that stuff to like, maybe she does. Maybe she's like paratrooper kind of thing. Like she's paramedic.
Yeah, maybe she was using it in the field.
keep people in line or something in TVA.
Mhm.
Yeah. Who
Yeah.
knows? But it was cool
You're
to see
right.
that.
I think that's a great pull right there because we think of them all as a certain way. We think of Casey as like kind of like a nerdy dork in the office. We see Hunter B-15 as like the hard prisoner who goes after Loki. You know, OB's kind of the most like his character, I will say.
Oh, yeah. Ouroboros. He's like a super genius in like whatever time he's in. It was interesting. Like he was probably like you're saying the closest to like the same dude.
Yeah, he was. But it's funny because his whole thing was he wanted to be the fiction writer, you know, the famous writer, but at the same time, like what he becomes in the TVA is a writer, but he's more known for his actual science, I would say.
Right.
Yeah, so he is, I guess, his most.
He's
similar.
like he's like Dr. Ken, but Dr. Ken became a comedian from a doctor. And this guy wanted to be a writer, but was just like an inventor.
Wait, who's Dr. Ken?
Real life Dr. Ken, the guy in
Ken Jeong.
Oh, Ken Jeong. Oh,
Ken
okay,
Jeong.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like he's obviously really smart and capable in this one field of work,
Mhm.
but like would love to do something else
Yeah.
as well. And it was funny, like he plays that character so well. Like when they're like, "Oh, you wrote the TVA handbook," and he's like, "I do become a successful writer." Like that, just that little bit was enough to keep him like, "Okay,
Yeah.
good." Like it's so genuine.
Yeah, he
like,
was.
it's kinda
It
cute,
is.
yeah.
It's like adorable. But then we also find out when he fixes the temp pad and he comes back to save Mobius and Loki, he's like, Loki's like, "Oh, wow, you did that fast." He's like, 19 months. I don't know if that's fast. He's like, "I lost my job and I lost my wife and I lost everything, but
I know,
well."
that was sad.
Yeah, you're like, damn, dude.
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, that's what he wanted to do. I love the whole idea too of him like trying to get the books launched, and he goes in the bookstore and he's like trying to buy his own books. He like puts them on the shelf and be like, "This is great," to fund it.
That's pretty genius.
Yeah, it was. It was smart.
Just like,
It was
yeah,
smart.
it's a hustle
It
for
was.
sure.
Yeah. Oh man, that was
It's
so
a
great.
really good
And he was
way.
so like optimistic and stuff. You know, like some person comes to you, says they're a time traveler and all this stuff, and he's like, "All right, yeah, let's talk about it." Like he was just like so, you know, not like get out of here, you freak.
It was a
No, it was
it was a cool way to like do a almost like a montage of backstory without devoting a full episode.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And at the same, I mean, I think this is backstory done right. You know what I mean? Where you learn about the characters, but at the same time, it's still progressing the story and then progressing the main character. Because at the end of the day, this is a Loki story. And then what we get from Loki's realization, and I think before we get to that point, it's like what he experiences with Sylvie, right? Like he finally goes back to talk to Sylvie, and she's the only one of them that remembers him. She's like, she's like, "Loki, why would I remember you? Of course I remember you." And he's like, "Oh, well, everybody else did it." And then she's like, "Let's go to the bar." They have that conversation, and I think it's one of the most impactful conversations, again, with it for any character that we've ever seen. You know, I'm trying to think of another time. You know, the other conversation I could think of is maybe like when Iron Man calls out Cap, and he's like, "You know, we lost. You know, you said, you know, we'd win together, we'd lose together, and here we are, and like it didn't work. You know, and that realization of like, man, we really failed." But I think that conversation at the bar where she's telling him, like, what do you want? It comes down to he doesn't want to be alone, and he doesn't just that. I mean, he wants the TVA back, not just because he's giving them an option and also it could save the universe, but it's because he wants to be with his friends. And I don't know. I just felt like that was such an amazing scene to get to the heart of like what Loki is about. I don't know. What do you guys think about that bar scene?
What is the general idea of why they're both able to recognize each other as their gods?
What do you mean? Like, oh, how she still remembers him?
Yeah,
I think
I didn't really get
yeah,
that.
I think it's still like TBD.
Because she's still a Loki, right?
Yeah, but I also think someone was saying because she still has Kang's temp pad, or He Who Remains temp pad, that maybe she was immune to it, or maybe because she was hiding at the end of Apocalypse for her whole life, she was used to that radiation. Loki basically took like an ass blast to the face of radiation
blast.
in episode 4.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and so maybe it's because of the amount of radiation that they've absorbed from like the temporal loom and time and how it all works that they may be, I don't know, like immune to it, I guess. But I'm not too sure about it. I still think that scene I just love because at her heart she's a Loki too. She knows why he wants to get all of this back and to get it all reset and everything because she's feeling it too. And we see that she's feeling it too because of the next scene in the music store. So she goes in there, she gets the record, right? The guy's like, hey, this will either cure whatever is ailing you or it'll make it way worse. And that song goes on and she's sitting in the back. And when she starts crying, listening to all the lyrics,
Spaghetti.
yeah, and the spaghetti visuals, which was absolutely beautiful. But that
So
scene just in general was just so beautiful. That to me, talk about A24, like that reminds me of an A24 scene about how creative it was and how unique. And, the windows start spaghettifying and the cup spaghettified. So the coffee spilling on the table and everything around her is kind of dissolving while this record spins. And then the camera spins with the record and then it flips up and then she kind of backs herself to the wall and everything is spaghettifying around her. And the only thing that stops that from happening is the temp pad magic or technology. The science or the fiction. I don't know what it would be, right? But I mean, I guess to us, it is just that. It's science fiction. So I love it. And in that moment, she realizes that she needs to be with Loki and the rest of the team because even if he gives them free will and even if he just lets them go off and do their own thing, all of universe, all of realities are collapsing around him. They have to do something. So man, it was just really, really well done. I thought it was some of the more like beautiful and poetic moments, but also like really getting to the heart of any Marvel character that we've seen on screen. Again, I think like Thor's gone through it. I feel like Captain America went through it. I went through Iron Man, went through it. And those are some of the reasons why they're a lot of our favorite characters is because we've seen them at their lowest. We've also seen them rise above it and kind of like fight through that. So I feel like this scene, these two scenes kind of embodied that.
Yeah, for sure. It's good, and it's like as cheesy as it is, whatever. It's nice to see Loki, like I guess, admit like you guys are my best buds.
Yeah.
Because you think back to his life, and it's like he's never really been close to anyone. He's always been looking out for himself. He kind of felt like he had to. It's probably why he's always mischievous all the time. He has this brother that he loves, probably unconditionally, but it's like it's not like they have the same relationship as he does with these people. Like eating pie with Mobius, and like just whatever, shooting the shit.
Even this time
so it was like nice.
Had on Lamentus with Sylvie on the train and just drinking and her asking him like, do you think what it means to be a Loki is us always losing? It's like those kind of questions, like nobody asked him those questions in the Avengers. Like Thor never really asked him those things. Like, Odin probably didn't. Maybe the closest person ever was his mom, Freya, and he's kind of the reason she gets killed. So like, yeah, I agree. Like I think these moments were like really, really good and really needed to drive the points of the show home. But for the longest time, he has been the god of mischief, and I think this season has been a lot of like, what is what is he really the god of, and can he come to grips with the type of god that he is? And what's interesting, for the longest time, it has been mischief, but I think this is the first time where we start seeing Loki shift from the god of mischief to a new comic book kind of character, and kind of him leveling up, kind of him reaching like Super Saiyan God or Super Saiyan 4, where he now has this ultimate power, learning about time slipping, which we'll get into in a second, but also he's now not becoming the god of mischief anymore. Online, he's called the Avenger Prime, and what that title means is he becomes a god of fiction, meaning the god of rewriting stories. And I think we see that in this episode. The reason why Mobius says, "Oh, jet skis are a perfect union of form and function," is because Loki says that to him.
Yeah.
The reason why Obi says something, I can't remember, or some of the things that he says is because Loki goes in there and says it to him first, and then by the time maybe they start the TVA again, they think it's their idea, but it was really him in the past before they forgot him implanting those ideas. Oh, the book. He brings Victor Timely to Obi, who helps Obi write the book that inspires Victor Timely. Loki then gets the book and then sees Obi, when he's still AD Doug, gives him the book that he will then write that inspires him to create the temp pad to get everything fixed. So literally all of these things are Obi, but the whole episode, he's rewriting the fiction of these characters' lives. And that's like really freaking cool. So I love this episode for that. I thought this was really, really amazingly
great
well
storytelling.
done. Yeah. And just all these ideas of a Mobius strip, a thing looping back on itself so it runs eternal. Same thing with the Ouroboros, like life creates destruction, destruction creates life. And all, we've been seeing it all season, but we see it especially in this episode too. And there's just like more examples that lead to that. And I'm like, fuck, that was just really well done. So I was really surprised by how good this episode was.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think we will see in the future. Okay, so it ends with him learning how to time slip, which is definitely a level up. I mean, that's a serious power. And
that's cool.
A power that I think if we are going to need the Avengers to beat Kang and everything, like Loki's going to be one of the only people that's going to be able to reverse time, because like the time stone or the Infinity Stones aren't around anymore. But I mean, I guess he could technically revert time to go get them, but at the same time, which is, God, I gotta stop saying that. He doesn't need him. Yeah, he doesn't need him anymore because he is a living Infinity Stone. He is a living Time Stone.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Yeah. So I don't know. I hope that Tom Hiddleston wants to keep this character going for a while. I think he's going to be super pivotal for the Avengers. I think his arc has been one of the most incredibly fleshed out arcs out of every character that we've seen in the last, like, whatever it is, 15 years of Marvel, or the MCU. So I don't know. I feel very positive about it. And then, I don't know where this episode ends. Like, I think he figures out a way to stop Victor Timely from spaghettifying, but there's a theory online and I can't take credit for it. But when he goes out to the temporal loom on the walkway, he has to do something to pull Victor Timely away from it. But instead, he pulls back the Kang that we saw in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. I think the worst person to beat Kang, if I had to choose, would be Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel? Does she beat Kang?
I mean, she doesn't, but if she did, I'd be like, what?
Well, Ant-Man already did.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, Ant-Man's ability is just to shrink.
Yeah.
Like Miss Marvel, I mean, yeah, maybe you're right. Actually, I mean,
like...
it's kind of like Hawkeye being him, and like I love Hawkeye. I think Hawkeye is an awesome, like, badass hero. Jeremy Renner's the man. But at the same time, it's like Hawkeye doesn't have any powers, and like technically, like Scott didn't either. He can shrink and he can grow really big now. I mean, he didn't grow really big to beat him, and he didn't shrink, so he just straight up beat him in a fist fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, Hawkman has a weakness that will always defeat him.
What is it?
Snowmobile.
Oh, shit.
Too soon.
Damn, I don't think it's too soon. He's doing
getting
fine.
better.
sorry.
Oh my god! Wow.
So I forget the joke, but I think speaking of Ant-Man, Paul Rudd sent some kind of like joke to him while he's recovering, in the sense of like including a snowmobile, whatever, like one you only send to your good friend, and he had a good sense of humor about it. I forget the joke, but that's funny.
Yeah, that was
so
good.
I'm sure he has a good sense of humor about it. So.
He did. So yeah, incredible episode. All right, moving on. We got the season 2 premiere of Invincible. Scott, do you want to take it away on this one?
Yeah. So if you've seen season 1, it picks up right after that. Little spoiler: season 1 ends with main character Invincible. His dad is Omni-Man, and you find out like Omni-Man is like the Superman who has been sent there to like
destroy
terraform the Earth, I guess, and turn it into what their species would be. So they take over and whatnot. And he unveils this to his son, like, this is always the plan, dude. They have this big fight, and he leaves. So it picks up from there. They kick off on like an alternate universe, so it's kind of cool. Seems like multiverse is like popular right now, so it delves into that. It's a multiverse of when his son Invincible follows, instead of fighting his dad, follows through with the plan and was like, all right, cool, I heard your pitch, let's do it, let's destroy the Earth. And it's just like this like horrible world. You're kind of watching like, what the fuck, like when is he gonna wake up from his dream? And you're like, it's not a dream, what's going on? And then it cuts to a dude that can walk between dimensions. So he ends up coming back into our dimension, and you see the main character that we know dealing with the trauma he experienced in season 1. He wants to continue fighting crime. He's kind of like staying home. He's not going to school, but he's also has this internal battle. Like, he's afraid he's going to become like his dad. And anytime anyone mentions anything like that, he gets really defensive.
Yeah. Like feels guilty.
And he just has this internal struggle.
Yeah, like he just seems like guilty that he let people down, or that he's like that the possibility of turning into his dad like kind of makes him feel bad.
Daddy issues for sure.
But still, it's really cool. It dives back into everything. Action's really great. Drawing and everything's really great. It's gruesome if you like that. I guess it ties into like the boys that we're going to talk about in a bitch.
God damn, relax, dog. Relax, dude.
Relax, bro.
Let's talk to it in a bit.
Well, yeah, I'm going to talk about a bitch. Oh no.
Is that going to be a saying, man? That should be a saying.
God damn.
We'll talk about it in a bitch, all right?
Talk about it in a bitch, man.
Yeah, shit. But it's really good. There's also some Kang vibes in this too. The guy who can walk between worlds kind of has this vibe where he's like, he wants all the knowledge to like make all the worlds great. And it's like kind of, it's in a sense, it reminds me of like a Kang.
You're
like
so
feel.
right. I didn't even, and that guy, I mean, oh shoot, he was already in the MCU. He plays T'Chaka's brother in Black Panther 1, but it's the guy from This Is Us. And he's like the main guy that can like do the universe hopping, like you were saying. But man, I was like, dang, if he did it, I was like, have that guy take over for Jonathan Majors. But I forgot he's already been in the MCU. But it is cool. I was fully ready for it to be a dream and for him to wake up, and then it's not, and you're like, oh wow, okay. So they're going that route, but then the multiverse of it all comes into play, like you're saying. Okay, so there was a lot I liked about it, but this didn't hit me, I think, because I watched Loki and because I watched Gen V. Like, it didn't hit me the way that season 1 did in the premiere, where I was like, oh my God, Omni-Man's like killing the whole Justice League, you know, kind of thing in the first episode of season 1. And it was really good. Like you were saying, everything is true. All that action was super good, but it didn't hit me like the way that season 1 hit me, and I don't know if it's because it lined up with all this other stuff I was watching, but I just kind of hope it gets a little bit more intriguing for me. I guess we're seeing so many multiverse things that it's like, I don't know. I feel like things are like rising and things are dropping because there's too many options right now. You know, Rick and Morty and
I see what you're saying. It's hard to sometimes like it's hard to see new ideas, and then it's hard to not compare these ideas with one. And you're like, oh, did they do it better? When really, like, really we shouldn't, but it doesn't mean we don't do it.
Yeah.
Like for sure, anytime I watch anything, I'm like, oh, it's kind of like for instance, I'm like, oh yeah, he's kind of like a king.
Yeah.
I see. Oh, he's
But-
kind of like this.
yeah,
Oh, multiverse.
but I wasn't
okay.
even
like, and I shouldn't be thinking like
right.
that.
I wasn't comparing it
but
to
I am.
Loki though. Even I was just comparing it even to itself against season 1. And maybe I shouldn't be
Yeah.
doing that either because it was a start. But like this premiere, as much as I thought it was good, don't get me wrong. Like I'm not saying it's bad by any means, but it wasn't like like Loki for me was like a 8 or 9. Like Gen V season finale was like 8 or 9. This was like a 6, 7 for me. Or I would say probably like a strong 7. And like it just it just wasn't like as powerful. Where I felt like season 1, episode 1 of Invincible was like that's a straight 8 or 9 too, maybe even 10. Like it was just I was so surprised by it, and I wasn't as surprised in this one.
Yeah, no, yeah, I see what you're saying. I know they touch a little bit on it, like in the multiverse, Omni-Man destroys Immortal Man or whatever. And it's like that, I guess that's the closest thing you can get to the first episode, right? But I'm just gonna take it as like, I'm sure there's got to be a reason why they just started with 1 episode and not like 3.
like they normally
Like
do.
it's probably gonna build into something really good. I know they had to deal with the trauma. I'm trying to think of it more, especially while I'm playing Spider-Man. Like sometimes good stories just need more time to
that's
flesh
true,
out, you know? And it's hard to like make sure every episode's
But
a
like
banger.
Spider-Man's beginning was so good for me. Like we've just been spoiled. It's like spoiled by riches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even things that they were showing at BlizzCon too, I think was just like, wow, that looks dope. You know, I don't even play that game, but like it makes me want to play it because that looks so freaking cool. You know what I mean?
Oh, but yeah, it could also be, I mean, granted, the first season 1, episode 1 still followed this thing I'm going to say, but season 2, episode 1, it's still following a comic that was written years ago, you know? Whereas like Loki and all these new properties we're seeing are like, they have the writers are going in like, how do we top the last fucking thing that was blowing up the internet? Like, and then they can do that versus like, they're telling a story that's already been told, you know, so the best they can do is like make it look cool, which they've been doing so far. But
the action
I see what you're saying for
tight.
sure.
Like with all the Maulers jumping out and like the different variations of them, and then like Invincible has to fight all of them. I thought that was super cool. It was just weird too. I kept thinking in that fight, as badass as it was, and I was loving it, I was like, okay, they just showed us all the Guardians, and then like they fight that big like giant baby, and then like it shows like Immortal is like the new leader. And I'm like, where's the rest of the Guardians? Because like the main guy, Cecil, like sent Invincible out. He didn't send the rest of the team. Like that, I don't know. It was just like kind of weird for me. I know they're following the comic, and I'm still loving it. Again, I'm on board. But like these are just little things that kept popping up in my mind.
Like why wouldn't you send
like why wouldn't you send the rest of the team? And you know, I don't know. So those are just little things that kind of kept flooding in my mind, and I was like, stop. But it was just, it's there. It was there.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a question. Just because we're getting a lot of superhero things, we're getting a lot of parallels, right, in terms of multiverses and time and things of such. There is this general idea of, you know, fatigue in the genre with things like Gen V and The Boys and Invincibles and Marvel, kind of all in a very similar pathway, obviously showing it in different ways. With all of the parallels, with all of the differences that we've seen, what haven't we seen yet that that can still keep you kind of involved, whether that's like graphics or storytelling or those French tilts? And second question would be, what would make you truly fatigued with the genre?
It's a good question. It's interesting in that book, The Reign of the MCU, that I'm reading now, that we've talked about in the past. Jon Favreau compared it to this. He said in the 1960s, maybe 1920s, one of those times, he was like,
that's a big difference.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know. But he was like, around this time, like cowboy movies were like the thing. He's like, didn't matter what anybody put out. They're like, that movie was a hit. It could be, as long as it was like cowboy, and at that time it might have been cowboy and Indians, but like, you know, these cowboy stories were it, and like people couldn't miss. And what happened was people started bending the genre just a little bit, or putting their own little tweak on it, or putting their own, like, I wish somebody would just do this with the character. I wish they would do that. And cowboy movies, for the most part, like, they're not at their pinnacle, but they never really went away. Like, we still get a few cowboy stories. I mean, Yellowstone is just an updated cowboy story.
Oh, man, so good.
I don't know if they ever go away, as long as you have good writing and it's well acted. So if you have those things, it may never go away. And I don't know what's going to make me truly fatigued on. I don't think superhero is a thing that you can be fatigued on. Like, I think if you like heroic stories and you like people overcoming, invincible odds, like, we see heroic stories in real life with sports and athletes. Like, so
it's like primal human emotion.
Yeah. So I don't know if it ever goes away, but I think if they keep telling things in a similar way over and over again, I think it will become stale. So with that in mind, I think it's awesome that Marvel has tried to do new things and tried to explore, and some of them were okay and some of them didn't work at all. But I'm excited to see James Gunn's universe, and I'm excited to keep watching Invincible. And goddamn, like, when we get into Gen V, like, this is an incredible show. Like, one of my favorite shows I can say almost ever now. Like, it was so phenomenally well done. And I don't know if that's if Scott, you have an answer, but whenever we're ready, we can move on to Gen V.
Yeah, I'm just to piggyback that. I agree. Like, I think fatigue for me only happens when the writing isn't that good, when it feels like it's kind of like a money grab. But as long as there's good writing, and I feel like there's always some kind of property that lies within that realm of superhero, whatever, that fits that, I tend to, towards that. I'll read that, I'll watch that, or like there's certain reason why certain characters are, like, have been popular for so many years, right? I could watch fucking Batman over and over again, no matter what iteration. Like, a new Batman could come out. I know if the writing's good, I'm fucking watching it, reading it, whatever. So yeah, I think it comes down to that. Like, tweak it a bit if you want, whatever. But as long as the writing's good and the love's there, it'll be good. Because
it's like Batman's like Sherlock, or like Spider-Man even, or Hercules. Like, these historical characters we keep doing new stories with, or like a slight tweak on it, and then people keep going to watch it, because I think the heart of the character is the thing that we want to, like, embody, and we can keep being updated for modern audiences.
Yeah, just interesting those, like, archetypes, like the warrior or the detective or the cowboy or the
Lone Ranger or the Shogun or the Ronin.
Yeah,
it's like
those are all. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But with Invincible in particular, I'm looking forward to seeing what the whole relationship with his dad is gonna, like, it's gonna pop up again. I didn't read it, so part of me wants to read it, and then part of me wants to just wait and enjoy it as I watch it. That's what I was
gonna say.
I'm torn every day. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then they, like any superhero universe, like The Boys or Invincible, whatever, they always have their own little tweak type of thing they have with it. And I'm interested to see, like, what superhero, like, what new powers pop up, what new type of villains pop up, how that all meshes, and all that stuff. Like, I'm a sucker for that. And this whole Omni-Man thing, he's like fucking Superman Prime or whatever, Superboy Prime. Like, I don't know how you're supposed to beat him, but he's gonna have to run into me eventually. So
talk about jokes too. There's that part where, like, Jay Farrow plays Bulletproof. And remember, we're introducing 2 new people to the squad, and they're like, this is Bulletproof. And then, like, Rexplode comes in, he's like, Bulletproof, that's a little on the nose, right? And he's like, Rexplode, what did your, like, little, like, 5-year-old sister come up with that name or something? I don't know, he, like, teases shit out.
He shuts him down.
Yeah, I mean, like, the jokes are there are still good, and the voice acting cast, like, all of them are tremendous actors in their own right, so then you bring them into, like, animation. Like, I mean, just for that, I mean, you talked about Sandra Oh earlier. She's plays, Stephen Ewan, Invincible's mom. Zazie Beetz plays his girlfriend. I mean, yeah. And seeing how Mark has to deal with now that his dad's not his number one hero anymore, too. Like, he can't, like, in fact, like, his dad is his number one enemy. He went from the person he looks up to the most in the world to the person he's probably going to have to stop more than anybody else. So it's a really crazy story, I think, from that aspect. So, yes, I think for sure with Omni.
Yeah. And then the added pressure, he's young, the added pressure of, like, everyone's watching him even more now. No one really trusts him, it seems, because they're like, you might be like your dad. For I'm assuming any, like, young person coming into anything, you at least want people to like uplift you. Seems like everyone's kind of, besides his mom and his close friends, are like, you know, like, I don't know, I don't trust
Yeah.
you. You could fuck up at any moment. I know you're here right now to help, but yeah, I don't know. And you're just like, do I even want to do this? It could create some sort of bitterness. Eventually, he could be like, fuck you then. I'm going to be like my dad, you weak fuck. You know, whatever. Like at any moment, he could just like turn. So,
yep.
Yeah,
And
it's interesting.
it's good. All right, last thing, we quickly got to get into Gen V, the finale.
Let's do it.
So,
Holy fuck.
this was good. Again, this also picks right back up where the last episode ends. Kate has now killed Dean Shetty, and they're all just trying to figure out what the F to do and how to handle it. Kate goes full supervillain mode in hand with Sam, and they decide to break all the kids out from the woods, and shit starts hitting the fan in like a very The Boys type of way. Man, everybody's getting murdered and slaughtered. If you are sensitive to like school shootings and stuff like that, this is gonna be real tough to watch. But at the same time, God, if you've been loving this show, this episode delivered in every front for me. It just worked so fucking well. The team, you know, the Guardians of Godolkin or whatever they call themselves, the friends that we've been following all season, now get split up into two groups basically, and they kind of have to go head to head in a sense. And then from there, we get a lot of connections to the world of The Boys with Ashley, the new CEO of VOT, and then we get a very kind of crazy heavy cameo at the end with Homelander. And then if you stayed like halfway through the credits, we get to see Butcher. So, man, this episode was wow. Yeah, what were your thoughts, man?
Talk about the shooting. It's like school face melting, school laser beaming, school like just like supers taking on anyone. It's funny, like some of them are like, "Hey, are you super? I won't hurt you," and then other ones are just like, "Laser beam everyone!"
Right.
Like, I'm just like, no one was safe really. Freaking bananas. It was a huge kind of twist at the end in the sense of like, you have the idea of like the show following these main characters that you're following being like the good guys, the ones that are going to come on top, the ones that are like, I guess they are doing the right thing, but just like the Boys universe, they end up no one who is good gets like their justice, it feels.
That's the
is, you know, it's like,
okay, so on that point, let me just say this real quick. It just reminds me of Game of Thrones in that way, you know, where like the right guy doesn't always get to live. Like Ned Stark doesn't get to live, you know, like these kids are like, we're trying to be heroes, we're trying to do the right thing, and out of all the things they do, decide to sacrifice like their whole careers and possibly their lives to like be the good guys. It flips around. But for sure. And it's funny, there are moments in this kind of like what you were pointing out in Invincible, like where you get taken aback and you're like, okay, I get it, like certain people are your friends or whatever, but like, do you really want to stop this person? Do you not want to stop what's going on? Like, there's a lot. Kate can only touch people and then make them do things. Fucking get Kate. There was certain points I was getting like Polaris dude who's literally just like slam her on her head if he wanted to. But he doesn't. I know, but
or you could just, you know,
a couple episodes ago he was just like they were just banging. So
yeah, I know, but fucking dude, you're okay. Like mass murdering though, you want to stop? Like what's going on? Or
I know, I was surprised he didn't just like wrap her up in like some kind of metal thing, but maybe he's not as good as his dad.
Or something.
I think that's what we're trying to.
Like put a blanket around her and zip tie that shit or something. I don't know. Like roll her in a rug. Come on. What is it? But she did a good job. The writing and everything, they did a good job like making me really hate Kate in this episode, especially the way like they made the character flow and kind of do whatever she wanted. Like there's a bunch of times where she could have been stopped, and I think it made me hate her even more. I'm like, fuck you. Like, so it's funny. Like I get that moment. I swear, like, when she was gonna reach and touch
Jordan,
and like her arm explodes, I literally was like, yes! Like I was watching by myself, and I was like,
okay.
Fuck you.
On that note,
like, fuck you, Kate.
Okay, when Sam walks in on the director guy, and he doesn't kill him, I was like, no, kill that guy. It's like, kill him.
Well, you know, it's hilarious. Because I thought he was gonna die, and I'm like, oh, he's not gonna be in the boys anymore. Like I kept thinking, like he's kind of a funny guy that just pops up every now and then. I'm like, oh, is he
That's
just the
true,
end?
but he's
Like, is the end of him? And then he gets saved, and I'm like, what a fucking little
he's
weasel.
become almost.
rat,
I mean,
dude.
Ashley is too, but she's kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, the boys Joffrey for me at this point. I'm like, that little shit deserves to die.
I know he was so close.
Yeah.
Too. No, I'm with you on that too. I was like, oh, man,
Yeah, I know.
and then he got away. I'm like, of course you got away, you little
exactly.
shit.
I was surprised. Because I mean, the way they were zooming in on the hand, and they did such a good job of teeing it up all season of like Kate taking off her gloves, like, you know, with Tech Knight, like, you're not going to take off that glove. Don't touch it. Like, I'll chop off your hand if you do that. Ooh, I didn't even realize that. And then her hand gets exploded. But like, there were so many things where they were pointing out, like, if she touches you, game over. You can't do anything about it. And then that point where you see it slowly going towards Jordan, I was like, no. But, you know, I did not expect her to blow up that hand, but I guess we should have because we saw it with the chick from the last episode who plays a senator. Or like is going to be vice president.
And it's like if there's ever going to be a instinctual reaction moment, that was that, right? Yeah. Like her now love interest about to get like messed up by Kate and just like explode the hand. Like that's probably just probably right. I thought she was gonna start giving people heart attacks.
Oh, I didn't think
she gave that one girl a heart attack. Remember, I was like, oh yeah, it could be your thing now.
Just she
like,
looked surprised by that one though. She was like, she kind of like, oh crap, didn't know I could do that. So, but true, I mean, but there was a lot of things I felt like she unlocked about her powers in this episode too, where she was like, oh, remember I like did this thing to my parents, like I'm gonna turn all the blood into like knives. And then she like kills that one kid. You know, like she.
Oh, and then she could even she saw the invisible dude.
Through his heart
by sensing like his blood. Or that was
that was good.
She whacked him hella hard. I mean that was cool. So she explodes her hand, and I was like pumped. And then you see Homelander coming in, and then like it's funny. I'm like I already know he's bad news no matter what, but then like. One of those dudes.
Like,
he shows up and then
them? Is he like gonna do it?
His take on the situation. I'm like,
I know.
Like,
it's just like every.
Oh, you're gonna hurt your kind? Fuck you, dude. Like, I'm so angry.
Man. Anthony Starr is amazing because he plays like the most despicable, irritating. I mean, he truthfully is Joffrey, right? Or I guess maybe he's Cersei in the whole situation. Like he actually has power. He can manipulate people, but he's such a dirtbag, like evil piece of shit, and at the same time, he's like one of the best parts of the show. And I'm like, man, he's actually gonna be like, you know, on the good kid side this time? Nope, he's a piece of shit. Because there was a point too, and I love this. This is where because I just didn't know which way it was gonna go, and I was like, maybe he's gonna be on their side, and then they're gonna like be on Homelander's side, and now they're gonna the boys are gonna have to fight these characters that we love because Homelander's backing them, and then because of that, they back Homelander. And now the boys have to take down Marie or whatever. But it was like, no, he's like, you know, you're gonna hurt your own kind. Kind of animal are you? And I was like, what?
Yeah, it's like what? What about the lady telling people to eat their own hands? Like, what's going on?
I know.
That was so despicable too. The more detailed she's starting to get with like the mind control things, like it really is tapping into like there's a difference between you getting taken advantage of and whatnot, and then you like. You don't have to go about that. Like that's evil.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
She was just becoming sadistic, and I don't know if it was because all those voices were in her head at some point, but it was getting intense in there, and God, they were just going back and forth. Andre with his dad, and his dad saying, you know, you got to take over now. I'm out. You're in. All that was emotional, and that part where.
And then there's that. Yeah, like Andre. Do we know if he's gonna? If he's on the same path of his dad, if he keeps using his powers, that's probably on the back of his back of his mind.
They kind of hinted at that. It seemed like like he was really struggling to bring the helicopter down, and that part was super cool. And but then there's a part where he like starts seeming like he's kind of like twitching and like blacking out a little bit, or getting like really lightheaded, and it seems like he's in for the same thing if he goes down this road. So I mean, what did you think about the Emma part? Where she comes in to talk to Sam, and then she doesn't have to like purge herself, but at the same time, you know, he leaves. He kind of flips on her, and I'm like, man, what a dick. He really. I get why he's doing what he's doing, like in the grand scheme of things, because he was tortured down there. But at the same time, I was like, you motherfucker! Like she was the only one that had your back, and now you're just turning on her.
What I was wondering is like when she turned small after all that, I was like, oh, I wonder if her size is actually tied to like her emotions and not her eating. Like when she purges, it seems like she hates doing it. She like hates everything about herself, whatever. It's like she's at her low, and then
so like when she hates herself or when she's at her lowest, she gets small, and then
maybe, and then like I don't know, something about eating and endorphins. I don't know, maybe something like that. So maybe when she starts, maybe it has something to do with like how she, maybe her emotions or something. I don't know. I thought that was interesting
because they don't explain it
because she definitely felt really hurt right then, and then she was just like small all of a sudden, right? Which was cool. And now it's like, oh, cool. Now she can control her powers a little different. She doesn't have to eat and vomit all the time. But maybe that's it. I don't know. I don't know
either.
But that was interesting.
That flip around, like, I get it. I understand where Sam's coming from in a lot of ways, but I'm like, you motherfucker, like.
But also, Sam, I'm like, fuck you, dude.
Oh man.
He's like, you're selfish. I'm like, oh yeah, you're just like. Of course, he's like the Hulk, and you don't want to say the wrong thing. He might punch your head off, but you're like, you're fucking a child, like a dumb child, like super,
teens,
just following whatever. So ridiculous. He walked into one meeting, and was like, sold.
You know what
I mean? like an idiot.
Super lives matter. You're like, that was it. I guess it only takes one time.
Like, really, dude?
Yeah.
But, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I love him pairing up with Kate. Like, she really is one of the only people that can kind of give him the medicine he needs, which is like, forget about all the bad shit in your past. You know?
That was another thing too. When she's like, feel nothing, I was like, you want to get a little more specific? Like,
right.
I don't know.
Like, is that physically?
I half expected him to just like rip her head off after that or something. He's like, that was fun. Or, I don't know. Like who? Feel nothing. He might have no alliance with anyone now. Like, what the hell? Like. I don't know. Yeah, it's bananas though, because she can definitely. It's like she can stim the Hulk into whatever sort of frenzy she wants. It's kind of like rage, and he's just like,
Yeah.
And then Sun's getting real low, big guy. It's like
analogy.
She can do all the things.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good. I'm blown away. After all of this, Homelander does come down. He blasts Marie in the chest. Apparently, he takes out all of the heroes that we've been following, which is Marie, Jordan, Emma, and Andre. And they wake up in this basically underground prison cell / hospital room with like no doors and windows.
Yeah, but they had a TV. Did they see that on the TV?
It's a good question.
Or was that us? We saw it and then we saw them.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I think that's what it was because we see how Homelander has spun the news into thinking that they were really the crazy kids that were attacking the school rather than Kate and Sam and then letting all the other kids from the woods out. It's just showing how like Homelander is in charge of basically everything at Vought now. Or Ashley, I mean, I guess Ashley's in charge, but she doesn't want to get on Homelander's bad side, so they could spin. Yeah,
really Homelander can tantrum himself into anything he wants. But like you were saying, the mid credit scene, you see Butcher roll in to the woods, and I forget his line, but it was nice to see Butcher again. And it made me think like, oh, is he gonna like, is he aware of the sickness that he can maybe get, or like it seemed it's kind of exciting.
Yeah, it was, and I think if you look back at the scene, there's kind of like that older white lady that she calls after she meets with Dean Shetty, and she's like on the phone with someone. I think she does. I think she calls maybe him or somebody in the boys.
Right.
But man, I can't wait to see these characters pop up again. Like as soon as it ended, I was like, "Fuck, we gotta wait 2 years for another season. This is gonna be bullshit."
Is that when's the boys coming out?
Well, the boys I think comes out next year. So maybe it's not true. Maybe we do see them sooner. But
yeah, because if this directly relates to it, like it got me excited to like. I guess kind of like when the original Marvel movies ended, and you're like, "Oh man, can't wait for 4 because they're gonna address this." Like that sort of thing. This continuum of like this story. It's cool. It's really connecting really well, and I'm excited for the boys, and I'm excited for Gen V, and it's really cool. Surprisingly works so well.
It did. They crushed it. Again, this has jumped way up on my board. It's gone from, like, oh, this is a pretty good spin-off. Oh, it's a good show, to, God damn, this is fantastic writing for me. It's acted well. The special effects are cool. It all just builds to this crazy thing, like you were saying. Like, it's like The Bear, Succession, and Gen V, I think, is like my top 3 shows of the year. I don't see how watching anything could top this for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Strong, bold statements by the T-Man.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I do.
Wait till the new season of Santa Claus comes out.
Ooh,
I'm kidding, I don't-
anything? Tim
I have no
Allen.
idea if that's even happening.
Oh.
That might change everything, bro.
Let's go.
Top of the list.
Right up.
I forget that it's the end of the year, basically. So
I know.
Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah.
almost
it's
Xmas.
a pretty strong top 3
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Super good. All right. Well, any other final thoughts, closing words for this one?
If you have friends, definitely make sure you check on them consistently. You don't want them to Matthew Perry. Rest in peace, Matthew Perry.
Can't tell if that was nice or like messed up.
Well, to piggyback that, definitely check on your friends. Check in with loved ones.
Yeah.
And then tell them about the show. Tell them to check it out.
Please
If you like it, they'll
subscribe.
probably like
Yeah.
it. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Talk to us. We want to talk to you.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Well said. Let us
Thanks for
know what you
tuning
guys
in.
thought about any of the shows we talked about tonight. Really are curious, and hit us up on socials, all the above. All right, you guys can say it. Say it in unison if you want. I don't care.
Thanks for sticking it
Thanks
with
for
us.
sticking with
God, that's like
us.
the worst echo ever.
The Joystick Show.
If you've enjoyed what you've been listening to, we'd really appreciate a follow, subscribe, and a review. Just how we like chatting with our friends, please share this with yours. Feel free to join the squad and follow us at JoyStickShow Joystick Show on Twitter and Instagram, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you feel like submitting topics or questions to be discussed on future episodes, you can email us at joystick.show@gmail.com. As always, thank you, peace out, and make it a great rest of your week.